Okay, welcome everybody to the latest in our series of London interviews, and we are delighted to have Lloyd's Register featured today. LR has been a very close friend of London International Shipping Week since 2000, our first instalment of the event. They are the UK's class society and one of the leading class societies in the world. It has been a delight actually to work with them over the years, and I'd like to thank them for their continued support, and very much now as Blue Sapphire and Legacy sponsors, something that they took on in 2023 and have continued in 2025. And we look forward to working closely with them in the run-up as well as during LISW25. Really just a bit of background, and this is probably teaching us all a little bit to suck eggs as far as UK shipping and where Lloyd's Register came from. But from its roots in the London Coffee House in 1760, LR has grown from the world's first classification society into a global professional services organisation that now supports safety, performance and sustainability across almost every corner of maritime trade. Today, the group employs more than 3,500 people, and as part of its ongoing transformation has just combined its technical and advisory and business advisory functions into a single 250-strong LR advisory team. Now, leading that new unit is James Frew, LR advisory director. James and his colleagues help ship owners, charterers, financiers, alternative fuel suppliers, port authorities and governments grapple with the twin imperatives of decarbonisation and digitalisation, moving the industry from a reactive stance to very much a proactive, strategy-led approach on everything from fuel transition pathways and data-driven performance optimisations to the human element of change. James, did I get that about right?
Yes, yeah, I think that's fine. Yep, that's good.
Well, it's a delight to have you with us today, James, and good to talk to you. Now, this is a new advisory function now with the LI advisory team. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it and what was the sort of reason behind setting it up like this?
So Lloyd's Register has been offering advisory for decades, but I think the idea of this new structure is to give us focus and scale. We recognise the challenges that the industry are facing are pretty much unprecedented in terms of their commercial impact on the industry, and as a result, we want to deliver a function that has the scale and the focus on the maritime sector to really be the trusted advisor and to support clients through these twin challenges of digitalisation and decarbonisation.
And you know, there are challenges, but there are also a huge amount of opportunities there, aren't there? And I think when you look at, before we sort of go into some of the questions here, but when you look at the way that the industry is starting to embrace reducing its emissions and looking at all different options there with different fuels and what have you, and different technologies, and then digitalisation, AI and innovation, I mean, it's so exciting. It's a great time to be in shipping, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fantastic time. I mean, there are huge commercial opportunities. You know, one of the lessons I take from the evolution of shipping is that disruption brings opportunity. And we see that both, whether it's, you know, some of the geopolitical disruption that, you know, tragically we're seeing happening in the world at the moment, or whether it's new regulations coming in, or whether it's technological disruption. And owners or industry stakeholders that can take advantage of those opportunities by having a clear strategy to execute, they will reap the commercial benefits.
Now, as you say, that there's a lot of stuff happening in shipping at the moment, even putting aside the geopolitical situation and the way that shipping has to be very agile. And indeed, that's a huge element of extra work and responsibility being put on the class societies as well, in the way that the vessels are dealing with that side of it. But when you look at your clients and you talk to the clients, and against that backdrop of this sort of complex situation happening at the moment, you know, how do you advise them? What are they after? What do they want? What are they asking you for? And, you know, what advice can you give them?
I think the key element is having a strategy, having a framework for decision making that lets you navigate through this uncertainty. And really, that's what LR advisory is all about. Both framing the challenges in terms of both the technical issues and also the commercial implications. And to us, those are the twin planks of the strategy. And that's something we think that at LR we're really well placed to do, to look at the problem both from the technical side with our fantastic technical heritage, but also we're capturing the commercial implications of these new challenges, be they geopolitical, be they around decarbonisation, regulation, or be they around technological change.
I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. When you look at the technical expertise that LR has within the marketplace, is world renowned. And I think, and shipping, it has to deliver value to investors and what have you. So it is that merger, that collaboration of those two elements there. And when you look at the sort of consultancy services that you're providing, there's a lot of consultants out there, but certainly somebody with the class and the heritage of LR, you're certainly going to be drawing on a lot more expertise than a lot of companies out there, I guess. What puts you aside from the other consultative services, would you say?
We see our strengths as focus and scale. So focus, we're purely focused on the maritime market, but we're focused across the whole maritime market. We work with not just ship owners, but with the charterers, with the ports, with the future fuel suppliers. So I think that's one key benefit we can bring, even to some of the biggest and most sophisticated owners. We can bring that whole industry picture, looking at every single stakeholder in the value chain. So I think that's the first piece. I think the second piece is scale. The challenges that we face, just focusing on decarbonisation, the decarbonisation challenge we face requires a huge effort around mapping future fuel availability, building a techno-economic model, assess the competitiveness of different fuels, even just some of the risk and safety work that needs to be done around new fuels. Now, either every single participant in the industry can go away and do that themselves, or they can work with a partner like LR that's already built most of this infrastructure already. So we're then in a position to support the industry better. So to me, focus and scale.
But when you look at the industry itself, let's look at decarbonisation. You've got a whole bunch of new fuels, alternative fuels that are being talked about and discussed about. And I think really the one area of certainty is the massive uncertainty surrounding alternative fuels and looking forward. The general view being that there's not one size will fit all, really, as far as that is concerned. But then you've got against a backdrop of a very, very fragmented shipping industry and ship owner sector, where you've got leaders in innovation, you've got early adopters, you've also got laggards, you've also got other companies that sort of want to wait and see what's going on. Then you've got problems with infrastructure and supply of some of the alternative fuels. And then you've then got the training, then you've then got the handling of it. The very ammonia, we read and hear a lot about, the issues to do with handling of ammonia. When you look at all of that and you go there and you talk to your clients, they must have a lot of issues there that they're coming to you and saying, look, what should we be doing here? What is best for our fleet? Can you give me a bit of an insight into what they're asking you? Because there is so much to contend with here, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And look, we're also in a situation where we've got an aging fleet, particularly in certain shipping sectors as well. So that does need fleet replenishment. So the principal challenge that clients are trying to address is future-proofing. How do they future-proof their ships? How do they future-proof their operations, their crews? And to me, again, the core challenge is having a strategy that lets you take some least regrets choices. And to be clear, when I talk about least regrets choice, doing nothing is unlikely to be the least regret choice. Some level of preparation, some level of strategic thinking is going to be the way we get through this as an industry.
Is the industry adopting this sort of idea that it needs to form strategies? I mean, there's going to be a lot of companies out there that are doing it, and they have to, and they're getting pressure from their charterers, and they get, this whole issue of ESG, you're getting pressure all the way down, it's cascading down. But there's going to be elements of the industry that are sort of sitting back and, as you rightly say, sort of, seeing what's going to be happening first before they take a plunge. It's overcoming that sort of inertia a little bit as well in the industry, isn't it? But it throws itself up as opportunities, I guess.
Yeah, and we are seeing a spectrum from owners that are clearly first movers, building the strategies, going out, looking at alternative fuels, looking at alternative fuel procurement. And we are seeing certain owners that aren't taking action yet. I think what I'd say is just over the past 3 years, I've seen a far greater number of owners looking to develop strategies, recognizing the scale of the problems that they face. And I expect over the coming 3 years, as we move closer to the IMO's implementation date, that we'll see a far greater number of owners needing to come up with a strategy to ensure the commercial performance of their fleet, never mind the technical and the safety performance of their fleets.
And I guess really, when we're working with clients, it's helping them prepare for these challenges ahead, such as MEPC 83 alternative fuels AI, as we're talking about. Could you sort of give us a bit of an idea of what the process is involved? Because you will be taking them, a lot of them, on a journey, won't you? You'll be working with them.
Exactly. It has to be a bespoke approach. Each client will have a different setup for its operations. operations. Each client will have different trade routes, different customers. There are different base of ships. So the approach has to be bespoke. It has to start off with understanding where the client currently is and then what the gap is, where they need to get to. That could be in terms of environmental performance. It could be in terms of digitalisation. And we have our digital maturity index, which supports clients in understanding their level of digital maturity, for example, as well as the services we have around energy transition, understanding where you are in terms of energy transition maturity. So I think that's the first element, where we are and where we need to get to. And then it's working with the client to build up a tailored and costed strategy, looking at the alternatives that they can take, be that retrofitting different energy saving technologies or be that applying digital solutions to their fleet. And then going from that set of options to a clear strategy and roadmap for implementation. Because I think one of the things that we really believe in as LR Advisory is we don't want this just to be an academic exercise.
Yeah.
We want the suggestions we make to we want the outputs of our work to be practicable and implementable, if that's a word.
Yeah. And this is right the way across. So this is owners, charterers, this is ports, this
Exactly.
is all elements, is it? I mean, because just looking at the sort of services there that you provide under LR Advisory, risk management, ports advisory, you've got the human element in there, James, and helping your people embrace the change across. I mean, dealing with technology, that's a key element, isn't it?
Yes, I think, yes. As LR Advisory, we're focused on the maritime sector, but we want to support clients in the maritime sector address all the challenges that they face. So not just focusing on ship owners, but focusing on energy producers, focusing on fuel suppliers, focusing on ports. And I think that we actually believe that makes us stronger because we're focusing across the entire supply chain.
Now, we got London International Shipping Week coming up. We're going to have thousands of people coming in to London during the week itself and attending a lot of events. And I know Lloyd's Register, you're going to be holding a number of events yourself during the week, which is excellent. Well, why is something like LSW important as a platform for LR Advisory? What do you get out of it as an event?
I think it's scale and collaboration. It really pulls the industry together and it's not just about the owners, it's about all the different stakeholders, all the different participants in the value chain. And to us, having the opportunity to speak to and convene events and also to bring new trends, new technologies to market is really important. So, I think looking ahead to 2025, obviously we've seen a significant interest in the nuclear space coming back. And this is something that LR, we've been leading the way in the industry. We've been engaging with both the IMO and the IAEA to support the development of maritime regulation of nuclear. And I think, LISW provides a great sort of forum to start those discussions on what could potentially be a long-term fix to shipping's decarbonisation problem.
I mean, talking to people within the industry, there's this growing element that are seeing nuclear as being the panacea to all these emissions issues. It really is the right way forward. Can you give a bit of an insight into that? I mean, you say you've been championing it for some time now. What are the challenges that it faces as far as the industry is concerned?
Well, as you said earlier, it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. I think with nuclear, the challenges are around the regulation and the social acceptance, really. And I think to us, it's about selecting assets to begin with that face lower barriers in terms of regulation and social acceptance, be that major offshore structures that only are in a single regulation, a single regulatory regime, or whether that's being about the provision of power to, say, remote communities or to data centers, where there's probably less of a regulatory, or where you don't face overlapping regulatory authorities. I think that's probably going to be the start of nuclear, but where we see LR's role is being to try and tie together or increase the knowledge of regulators of the application of nuclear in the maritime industry, increase awareness of its astoundingly good safety track record overall, and then create a pathway and a framework which will see the wider acceptance of nuclear in the industry.
Because it is being used already. already, isn't it? Certainly on military vessels and other vessels. I mean, you are seeing nuclear as a form of propulsion already, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. I mean, obviously, we're now talking about a different technological set of technological solutions in the rise of small modular reactors. But yeah, we certainly, nuclear is a proven technology. It can be safe by design. I think just that the challenge and the opportunity with nuclear is how that involves rethinking the business model. And that's part of the work that we're doing with large players in the container shipping or in the cruise sector, is looking at how using nuclear energy as the fuel for a ship will actually change your whole business model. It's not just about can you get a nuclear reactor on a ship, it's also what commercial opportunities will that open up.
So just really tying up then with your involvement during LRSW, what you've got a lot of industry leaders coming into London for the event. What would your message be to them attending LRSW who might not be familiar with LR Advisory, and certainly those wanting to make sort of transformative decisions in uncertain times? We are in uncertain times at the moment. It's quite worrying. But what sort of message would you give to industry leaders with regards to what you're able to provide?
To navigate these challenging and uncertain times, you need a partner, you need an advisor. We're here to support you in that. I think that's come and talk to us. Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think and again, going back to what we were saying earlier on, James, that, when you've got an entity like LR with a massive amount of heritage there, to have that confidence in your partner there and helping to make the right decisions, I think is important. Just finally, really, looking at LR Advisory over the next 3 to 5 years, what's your vision for it, and how do you see it evolving? Because I'm sure you're going to get busier and busier, I'd have thought, with what's going on.
To be honest, it would be more of the same. We already work across the entire value chain of the shipping industry. We already support different stakeholders, and we already encompass both the commercial and the technical aspects. So, to be honest, what's happened now, or recent developments, particularly around decarbonisation and the IMO GFI, is actually playing into the strategy that we set out 4 years ago, in terms of not just being focused on ship owners, but trying to embrace the entire value chain into capturing both the commercial and the technical element. Really, what's happened now has validated the offering that LR Advisory can bring to the industry, and I think it actually positions us quite strongly to move forward.
I mean, as you say, it's an exciting time, moving forward, I think, for innovation, and shipping is going to have no choice but to sort of go down that particular route. It has to meet its emissions targets, there's no doubt about it. There's lots of very exciting solutions available there as well. But I think, as we're saying, what I'm drawing out of our conversation, James, that, it is a gradual process as well. Things need to happen in certain stages as well. And there are lots of options available depending on what type of fleet you have as well. Are you looking forward to LSW? Are you going to be coming along and coming to some of the event?
Absolutely. No, it's always great. It's a great opportunity to catch up with old friends from around the world, as well as meeting some new ones. So yeah, definitely very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, as I say to anybody wishing to come to LSW, and it's you just look around and everybody's got a smile on their face because they're getting so much out of the events that they're attending or have you. Wear comfortable shoes because there's a lot of walking involved, but solid stuff, but also a lot of blue sky thinking. And certainly we'll have that as far as Lloyd's Register is concerned during the week. James, can I just thank you again for your time today? Been a joy talking to you, and also to thank Lloyd's Register for your support. You were one of the first companies that came in and said, yeah, we absolutely believe in LSW way back in 2010, 2011. So thank you very much indeed as an organisation, and also to yourself today for your time.
Thanks a lot, Sean. Really great talking to you.